Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video, we are running an experiment, and you can see, I kind of want to show you guys how to set one of these up because I think it's pretty easy. I mean, it's a kind of a no-brainer, really. We actually probably overcomplicated it a little bit. I got a little creative with some of the wallpaper on this, and I didn't do as good of a job. Emma does a much better job with wallpapering, but I think, you know, for wallpaper, it looks all right. So we are testing out this window AC to see if basically can a 6,000 BTU window unit cool what amounts to somewhere 178 to 200 square feet. We're somewhere around 22 feet of living space and 8 feet across, but some of this, of course, is like, you got a fridge, right? That's you know, cooling that. These closets, these are all closed. Will this work? Now, I know that the 12,000 BTU unit is definitely going to work, but it's big, it's clunky, it's heavy. Like, you're not going to want to, you know, as we travel, we don't want to set that up and break it down. The most ideal solution would have been this rooftop unit that we have. This is the Bel Air 3400. I think the Houghton line of air conditioners. It's 120 volt, 13.5K unit. It was not as cold as the window unit, and it pulls more power. So the window unit we could actually run if it was just the only thing running, not our fridge, which is very inefficient. We can run that all night long, still have battery in the morning, and we can recharge. It will take all day, but you know, it's one of those things. That's kind of a nice thing. This guy sips power compared to even the big window unit, that 12,000, whereas this guy will kill the batteries overnight, even if it's the only thing running. So somewhere around 1,200 to 1,300 watts running, just to keep it at, and this is setting it, by the way, at like 70 in here. Occasionally by the morning, we're here in the Mojave Desert, so this is Las Vegas, right? In the summer here, which is when you need the air conditioner, if it was in the 70s or 80s, I wouldn't even care. Really, I wouldn't. I'd just run the fans. But in the 90s, hundreds, and today is 104. So when this guy was running at 97, it struggled to keep it at 70 until overnight, and then it would kind of kick down a little bit. Whereas the window unit we tried over here in the far window got it cold on the bed, cold enough that we were comfortable, and actually had to turn it down. And that window unit had to actually shut off overnight. Now this guy's a 6,000 BTU Medea. You can pick them up for like $159 right now. It's $159 to $179 at Walmart right now. That is the cheapest 6,000 BTU window unit that we could find. So here's the box. 53 bucks a year to cool, if it's running all the time, I guess. I don't know. 11 SEER, 6,000 BTU, and it's supposed to be 545 watts. I have that fan, the Woozu, running over there. That's been running, and that takes about 50, 60 watts. But somehow, you can see 728, 729. This guy's pulling more than 545. I found that kind of interesting, and I don't know exactly why that is. Now, just to show you that it's, right, like I expect that fan's going to use 50 to 100 watts, but even so, we'd be over 545 watts. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this off. Shut off, and we're at 56 watts. So right off the bat, that's more than it's supposed to be taking. I'll show you the outside. We do have the awning, so it's not like this is, I'm going to turn that back on because it actually is cooling somewhat. Wait for the compressor to kick back on. And when it's just in fan mode, the fan only takes about 50 watts or so. That's pretty good, 52 watts maybe. So can it be run even on its apparently less efficient setting? And this is with eco mode. Oh no, eco mode was on that whole time. Eco mode doesn't seem to make any bit of difference. But anywho, even with that running, it's still more efficient power-wise, less of a power draw than either of the other two. But how does it work? Now, today, we're gonna go out and get some actual measurements, and we're gonna use the handy dandy thermometer app here, but it is showing that today's current weather, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 106 is supposed to be the max. And right now, the air coming out of this is 91 because the compressor isn't on, 90, 91. But it's been running for a good while. And where we should be in the 70s, here at 91 degrees. This has been running all day. It's 3:10 right now. 70s, let's see, right here, 87, 90, and then this behind the fridge is quite interesting. 108, 115. By the way, the sun is not on this side, so that's not to blame. The sun is actually over here with the awning out, however. Yeah, 98 degrees right here. So let's give this a second to see what the air is coming out of this. Now, all this to say, 6,000 BTUs, obviously half of the cooling power in theory, right? It's really complicated. But this unit, the 12,000, when we did this test just a couple days ago, that was less well sealed than even this. And there are some gaps here, right? But if you don't really want to button down, like you don't want to completely button everything down, that's just not an ideal situation. So you can see this is actually the thermometer, which is really kind of a neat little trick there. And so 70, yeah, so these numbers are not great. I know there are 65, 65. So I would like to see this around 40 to be relatively comparable. That's not what, oh, well, now 50s. So 58, 58. That's about the best we're gonna see it. 58, somewhere in there. Not cool. And again, the bed, 93 degrees. Nobody's sleeping in 93, 92 degree weather. What is it outside? So let's check that out. So I really like this wallpaper. Went ahead and got that on Amazon. Actually, looks like kind of like what we'd see at a motel, like a fancy motel, I feel like. So let's see. So the blue here, fiberglass, 124. The white, surprisingly, almost 10 degrees less. And you can see that guy's nice, and they no way. The condenser here, that's at 129, and the trailer is at 124. You'd think there'd be more than a 5 degree difference here. And that's the air intake. Now, of course, this is all in the shade, which does make a nice difference because the sun is right overhead over here. So to show you kind of what we've got going on, it's very simple. There's 3 parts plus 1. So we have this little bracket, which I would really recommend. This bracket will hold it in so it can't fall out this way, right? You could potentially push this all in, but whatever. There's rubber mounted feet here. So, and then this is all adjustable. So this guy, this is the second one we purchased, 30 to 40 bucks, somewhere in there, and they're basically brand new. You just buy it used. Brand new, it's like a $90 product, which is crazy. That should not be. Then you have the unit, it just sits right on top of here. If you wanted to secure this more, this is an experiment, so I'm not modifying anything. We'd probably actually put in a little bolt or a piece of wood to go across, maybe even, you know, like a U-shape something so that it can rest back there. That's as far as it can go. Then you have a big piece of the pink styrofoam, pink foam, the XPS foam. That stuff is awesome. We use that for everything, and then you just kind of cut around, you'll figure it out. What I had done was went ahead, figured out, I cut the square, so it can only be this big, right? And then tried to set everything in there, had my sister actually hold the pink stuff up to the front of this guy, and then I sort of traced around that, cut that out, made a couple wiggles, and then you can add in your foam. I didn't do the best job here, but it's actually quite fair because I think I did a worse job overall with the bigger unit. Now, of course, this is not a one-to-one comparison because it's actually hotter today than it was when we tested both ACs. But I gotta say, so far, I'm not super impressed with the 6,000 BTU unit. Part of it has to do with the insulation. Like, insulation's just a factor, like that is a deal. But I'm also not super, like if it says on the box 545 watts max, this is taking up more of those. Now, also for comparison, we're running three 5,000 BTU units inside of the house in the individual rooms, and those are not buttoned up either. I mean, they're single pane windows, all that good stuff. We used a very similar method in the house, and actually those are working well. Like, those get pretty cold. So oh my goodness, the ground right now 174.2, in the shade 107.3, somewhere in there. So this will be an interesting one. The blue here 160, 170. Oh, I 100% believe that actually hurts to touch. And then the white, 134.4, 135, 136. Oof, that is hot. Genuinely hurts to touch. Of course, we're in a desert, right? Some people might go, well, duh. But really, if I'm not really like someone who really believed that color mattered all that much, or like, okay, just get a bigger AC. But I love the blue color we chose. This is proof you might actually be okay going with maybe even like a light gray would be fine. I'd like to see the difference in temperatures there, but that dark color makes quite a difference. Oh my goodness. And we have a dark gray truck. no regrets. But overall, yes, that is that's how we have that set up. Anybody can do it. It is the exact same thing we did with the bigger one. I will say, if we were going to stay stationary for long periods of time, this would be really a no-brainer. And we'd also add a little a little plate right there like we did with the other one, and just to keep the heat off. But with this, in this case, I would say if you're going this route, 8,000 or better would be ideal, right? And just try it, try different things out. We've seen also other folks will take like 2 little ones, one by the bed, one, but our bedroom windows are pretty large, so that's not gonna happen. Not with this setup here. But I don't think we're gonna keep the 6,000. It's not doing the trick. I would say the 12,000 though, with it as an inverter model, you can find it for like $300 or $400, sometimes on sale for even less than that. But that's definitely the way I would go. Given that we travel so often though, this isn't gonna, really it's not gonna cut it. If we were staying put, so I will, we'll go ahead and we'll do the same 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. test for 24 hours. If this would work for you, how much, worst case, right? Because this is 62 is the lowest setting that this can go. The bigger one can go down to 60, allegedly. And this doesn't have heat, the bigger one does. But what kind of power consumption should you expect if you were running this 24 hours in Las Vegas? And this is about, it seems like about the average temperature, and this is June of 2025. Yeah, it's gonna get hotter for sure, but hey, does it keep up? In this case, I don't think we're not seeing that it is. But if you wanted to run this, a 1200 watt system would absolutely run this. I'd say no problem, solar-wise, so that you could run this and just conserve during the day, recharge your batteries. And what kind of battery bank? I would say 700 amp hours would be a real safe bet. You could probably get by with a little less, depending on your other AC loads. 5 to 700 amp hours of 12 volt would be ideal, really. That's just my opinion. It really all depends. We'll see, however, how many watt hours it uses for a 24-hour period, and then you can also determine, what you're doing. Yeah, that's what we have going though. And last night we did not. Yeah, we weren't hurting for power. I'll say that. Well, alrighty, guys. The results are in, and I am kind of blown away. Not in a good way. So you can see our window has been restored to its original condition, and nothing's over here. I was hoping that the 6,000 BTU unit would work, so we kind of, went through all the trouble here, and no dice. That thing did not cool even overnight. Now, I will say 105 degrees, 106 degrees, it can be tough to keep up with, right? I understand that. But a tool's a tool, and if the tool doesn't do the job, there we go. Even the Houghton that's right now running, we're running this only because the 12,000 BTU unit, the window unit, works great, but the house needs it more. So we'll go ahead and, I'm gonna let them use it. There's this kind of phrase that you can only expect 20 degrees less from your air conditioner. And with the window unit, that is not true, period. That is just simply not true. I mean, it'll be probably 40 degrees less, depending on the room insulation and position and sun and ambient temperatures outside and all that good stuff. But with the rooftop unit, yeah, maybe 20 degrees is about right. Yes, now last night we slept without air conditioning. Gave that back to my mom, like, hey, if you want to return it, or you can use it in the house, whatever. But she had picked it up as a way to trade. Yes, that didn't work, and our batteries had actually died last night. But because we don't have a 30 amp hookup, we have like a, well, really 12 amp hookup. Yeah, we weren't able to turn the AC on. It was pretty bad. So, anywho, all that to say, hard numbers. So over a 24-hour period, I'm blown away, and I'll show you why. 15.3 kilowatt hours. So 15,300 watt hours were used. That's crazy. That's nuts. And just between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m., it was 5.4 kilowatt hours. But you might ask, like, what does the rooftop unit use? So the rooftop unit uses 20 kilowatt hours in a 24-hour period. So 20 versus 15.3. That's a good gap there, right? That is a good gap, but it's not a big enough gap. And the Houghton in the same period of time, the middle of the day, 6.4 kilowatt hours. So there's that. But what about the bigger air conditioning unit. You might already know that unit is also an inverter technology. So it's 12,000 BTUs versus 6,000 BTUs, the one that we tested and loved. That's the one that we had in the bus, but the bus wasn't quite set up right. That unit, over, let's see, between 10 and 5, right? So the 6,000 BTU unit, 5.4 kilowatt hours. The window unit, 4.8. Double the cooling, kept it like an ice box in here, less power. Kind of interesting. And over a 24-hour period, that 12,000 BTU unit, 12 kilowatt hours. So the lesson learned is oversizing your air conditioner in this instance, absolutely worth it. I know there are some folks that will say, if you oversize it, it'll shut off, and I'm sure there's a lot of truth to that. In this case, for an RV or a trailer, but it's, you know, any RV, especially some that are a little less insulated than this, absolutely oversize the crap out of it. And again, it just blows my mind. It boggles me that I'm literally right now sitting in here, and I shut the big fan off. We brought our big fan that we had in the bus. You might remember that. We picked that up, I think, in South Dakota. I think we got this guy because we didn't have air conditioning. It was so hot. Yeah, brought that in here, and it's just not comfortable. You know, you can see, I don't know about you guys, but 84.6 is just not comfortable in here. 85, and okay, 50 degrees, 57, that's not cold enough to me. That's not even close. But 62, granted, in the shade here, we're at, let's see, 104, and in the sun, the ground is 158. Oh, today will be 108 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, yes, you can only expect so much. I completely understand that. But those window units, huge. Now, I know there's a lot of folks that talk about mini splits. Love the idea. Love the idea that they are more efficient, and by all accounts, I mean, everything that everybody has said, that's the way to go. The only problem is where in the heck do you put them, right? So we could theoretically put a unit back here. I don't want to drill in, and you also have to run the interim power. That's not a huge deal, I suppose. I have, however, thought about, you know, because we're not going to put it on the side or anything like that, but I've thought about putting, you know, maybe somewhere up here. I don't know quite yet. So we got a lot of projects, but that being said, yeah, we're doing pretty dang well. Otherwise, you know, it's just warm. It's taking some getting used to. And the best part of this is that, well, our home has wheels, so we can go to where temperatures are under 100 degrees at some point. Once Emma gets back and we can hit the road, that'll be nice. That'll be really nice. So hopefully not too much longer. I need to clean up some of this trash. It's also very windy out here, so the trash actually will come from other people's yards as well. I've seen big bags, like, oh, it's crazy. But if you are wondering about a 6,000 BTU Medea window unit being cold enough to cool an RV effectively, the answer is absolutely not. I don't understand why it takes so much power. It took significantly more power than the inverter model of the Medea. Spend a little more money on the Medea, and you will thank yourself, absolutely. No doubt about it, because the Medea we can run overnight. 12,000 BTU inverter model, we can run overnight. Same window, same size, basically. It's just, it's a little larger, right? But the 6,000 runs harder, works way harder, and doesn't keep up. Might have been a little bit of common sense, but hard numbers for us. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.